Hi, this is international psychic medium Susan Schueler. Welcome to my show, Midlife Conversations. Today on our show is financial advisor Tim Stalker. Hi, Tim. Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you.
Hi, Susan.
Thank
Glad
you
to
for
be
being here.
Sure.
So now you and I go way back. It kind of blows me away when I realize how many years we've known each other. We met when we were teenagers and we grew up in the same area, actually a little suburb outside of Buffalo, New York called Orchard Park.
It's very well known now. They have a football team there,
That they do, and your bills are doing quite well.
Our Bills, Susan.
Our bills. Okay, my bills too. Sorry. But so growing up in a community like Buffalo it's a powerful little community. And part of the reason I wanted you to be on the show is not just because of your financial advising background, but also because you're so involved in your community. And I love that about you. So if we could just start at the beginning, if you could just give us a little bit of background into how you became a financial advisor.
It was easy. I was making a couple $100 a week unloading trucks for my father. I was married. I needed more than that. And the ad in the paper said make $300 a week guaranteed for a year. So I said, that'll be great. At the end of the year, I'll have $5,000 in the bank and I'll have extra money and I'll quit and I'll do something else. Well, as we know, there is no money in the bank. It doesn't work that way when you get extra money. And I stuck with it. I was selling insurance for Prudential. And in 1988, I was recruited to come over to Metropolitan Life. And I worked there for 28 years until they got rid of their field force and sold us all to Mass Mutual. So now technically, I'm a Massachusetts Mutual agent, but being a broker, I can offer you contracts from any company that's out there, mutual funds from 7,000 different companies, auto and home insurance from 15 different companies. That's what I can do. So primarily I work with individuals or families. I do have some small businesses, and my goal is to make sure that your money is working hardest for you, and so you can retire sooner or in a better position, or if somebody should pass away, that you don't have to sell your house and move your kids to a different school district. That's what we do here.
Right. And it's so funny too, because that's the sort of stuff when you're younger, you just don't think about. But I know I'm 55, so I certainly think about that a lot more than I used to. While I have you here, I want you just to briefly explain to the audience the difference between term life insurance and is it called whole life?
It can be. It's term or permanent insurance. Think of it like your car insurance. Your car insurance is term because you pay for it for a year, and at the end of the year, the insurance is gone and the money is gone. If you rent, you pay rent, and at the end of the year, your lease is up and you leave. But by renting your home where you do, Susan, if it's cold outside, it keeps you warm. It keeps you cool in the summer. It protects you in inclement weather, just like if you owned your house. But the difference is you pay less than if you owned it. But if you stop paying, it's gone. The coverage is gone. The protection is gone. If you buy your home, if you buy your insurance instead of renting it, you build equity. And at the end of a period of time, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever, it becomes paid up, much like your mortgage. And you have an asset that's worth money. You can take money out of it or you can leave it to your heirs, but it's also permanent protection. But when you're inside sitting on your couch, you can't tell if you're renting it or you own it. You only know at the final end of it. So permanent insurance does cost more, but you're buying something and you're building equity versus renting it. I'll give you this. When it's important to have some kind of insurance, because when someone does pass away, I had a widow in today, her husband passed away, and they've been clients of mine for 20 some years, and we're doing a death claim. She didn't ask what kind of insurance it was. She asked, how much is it? And what am I going to do with that to make sure I can stay in my home? That's the important thing.
Right. And now that brings up a good kind of segues us into the next thing I wanted to ask you about. Now I'm single, and for me, it's like if I go, I remember just talking with you about this not too long ago. It's like, how are the people who are going to benefit from my going to know what's where, and what would you suggest people
It's
do for things
simple.
like that?
It's simple. Single, married doesn't really matter. Somebody has to take care of your affairs. Now, for me, it's a letter. I have a letter written, and on it, it says it's sealed, it's notarized on the back, or it's signed on the back just to seal it. And it's a letter of instruction to my sister, who's going to start the ball rolling with my affairs. In that letter is a list of 2 representatives here at the office that she can contact to help with all my accounts, my insurance, my investments, things like that. It has instructions. I have 2 older children. My baby's 28, 29. Oh my God. Anyhow, it just has instructions on how to help them work through the process as well. They'll be getting some things, but it's a letter of instruction. I have a folder in my desk, and I tell my sister, have the guy at the office go in my drawer, pull out the red folder, and in there is a statement from every account that I have. It doesn't have to be current, but it's a statement. It just shows what I own and and there's an 800 number on there where she can go to get it. It has my life insurance information, my banking information, where my mortgage is, etc. So if you want to go to Walmart and get a 19-cent red school folder, and in it place a copy of your lease, a copy of your, you bank at Key Bank, and you have your insurance with Prudential, and you have your investments with Schwab, whatever, some way that somebody knows where to go. If that's not done, and again, this happens quite often, I get clients that come in and say, I found this in my mom's house. It's 3 years old. She's been gone for 3 years. What is this? It's a statement of something she never told any about. Maybe it's still intact. Maybe it's gone off to the state's lost funds account. Every state has a lost funds department, unclaimed funds, it might be called. That just means the company that you're dealing with has reason to believe that you've lost interest in it or you no longer exist, and they give the money to the state to hold for a while. And then after a while, the state absorbs the money, and well, here in New York, we just kind of burn it, but whatever.
Let me ask you, if somebody
we don't have enough time to cover that. But yeah.
If somebody found something years later, would the state give it back to them then, or is
yes, if they haven't, if it hasn't been dissipated yet, yes, the state would, if they can show claim to it. But it's a pain in the neck. It really is a pain in the neck. There are companies out there that do nothing but hunt down lost funds for people.
Wow.
I mean, and they charge you 30%, but they figure, look, we'll do all the paperwork, and you didn't even know it existed. So you get 70 cents on the dollar of something you didn't know existed last week. So how's that? That's not a bad deal.
Right.
So, and they're experts at it because that's all they do. But you don't want it to come to that.
No.
So, like I said, you can leave a letter of instruction. It's good to have a will. Everyone should have a will. After you're 18 years old, you should have a will.
Really?
And the will just puts somebody in charge. So you can say, hey, Tammy, you're in charge of my stuff. And this will says that the court says that you are in charge of my stuff. And then she can go to your bank. She can go to your investments. She can do anything she needs, holding a piece of paper saying, I'm in charge now. And it'll make it a lot easier for her.
And it has to be notarized?
A will would be notarized, yes. And a lawyer would notarize your will.
Okay.
Other documents that are important are a healthcare proxy, which you may have with your doctor, but you want an all-encompassing healthcare proxy that will cover anything. I have one with my local doctor, but it only covers him. If I get in an accident in Kentucky, it doesn't work at that hospital. So I need somebody to have a healthcare proxy that goes no matter where I am. I need a living will. The living will simply states, Tim's unconscious and it doesn't look like he's ever coming back. Just because I have health insurance, I don't want to be plugged into a machine for the next 5 years because the bill will be paid. It gives my sister, God bless her, the authority to say, here's where we draw the line, here's where it ends. Right. It gives that person the right for that. I have a power of attorney, which puts her in charge of my finances. Now that's 2 things as well. The power of attorney is only good while I'm alive. So she could technically go to the bank right now and drain my account if she wanted to.
So you don't want somebody you trust.
Power of attorney, somebody you trust. However, the bank is going to say, well, wait a minute, where's Tim and why are you using this? So they're going to do some due diligence on their part. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. I could be on a beach in Florida and I forgot to do something. She could run over to the bank and handle my business for me with a phone call. Or I could be injured and not able to handle my finances. She could pay my bills for me. So it works both ways. When I pass away, that power of attorney dissipates, ends, and then the instructions of the will take over. And now she's in power of my estate. Okay.
So now with people as we get older, what are some things that we should sort of plan for? I know like my grandmother and my mom, I remember years ago going to pick out their plots at the cemetery. And I remember thinking as a kid how gruesome that was. But being that I'm a medium and I talk with people, I was just talking with somebody earlier whose mom died last week. they are so, the grief is so heavy at that point. Those are decisions they don't want to have to deal with. So what would you like suggest that we kind of need to put things together so that if we do go rather unexpectedly, things are put in order?
Anything that you can do ahead of time certainly helps those who pass away. I mean, I tell my clients, I told this client today, I said, you're going to deal with this once in your lifetime. I do this every week, and that's just my job. So I see it a lot more. I'm not better at it, but I'm just more experienced. If you have the funds and the cash, go, and you know where you're going to end up. I mean, if you're a nomad and you're all over the place, you can't really do much ahead of time. But if you know that, hey, I'm in Orchard Park and I'm not moving, I'm not going anywhere, then it's okay to go down to the corner and prepay my burial. When my stepfather passed away a number of years ago, I was in a panic with my mother, and he passed away in our house. We were all very sad, and I said, "Oh my God, what do we do?" My brother went off and made a phone call to Seek and Mass over in Lackawanna. They said, "We'll be there in an hour." They say your goodbyes. They came over very discreetly. They took care of his body. They left, and they said to my mother, "We'll see you on Friday. It's all taken care of."
Oh
Because
my
they had done that.
gosh.
All they had to know was what suit do you want him to wear? That's it. And
Wow.
then they took care of everything else. And we went Friday for the wake. It was all done. So they
Oh,
took care of that ahead of time. It really relieved our family of stress ahead of time because it was decisions that you don't mind making them. You'll do it for your parents, but somebody did it for me. That's even better.
absolutely.
Uh, you can take care of things by making sure your beneficiaries are up to date. If you're single and you have a checking account and money at the bank, why don't you put your sister or somebody on there with you so that account doesn't get locked if you pass away? Or if you become injured or ill and you can't deal with things, your sister or whomever's on the account can pay your bills for you because the account stays open. Little
Wow,
things like that. And they don't
that's
cost a thing.
brilliant. I would never have thought of that.
Yeah. Well, again, people don't. People
Wow.
don't until you're through it. I mean, I'm on my mother's account, not because I'm the favorite, although we know I am, but because if something happens to my mom, she has to go to the hospital, somebody has to pay the gas bill. And
Right.
so I can still do that, even though she's not able to.
Right. Now, what about like, okay, when we talk about life insurance policies for people, and like I think you and I spoke about this when we went out to dinner last time I was home. I mean, you always think, oh, somebody who's got like a family and children, they need life insurance. But what about somebody like me who I have no children? Do I need something?
Well, yes, you do. I mean, you could say, well, I want to have some insurance because insurance is leverage. Okay. You put in $1 and it becomes $10 right away, tax free. You can't do that with an investment. Um, so if you say, well, everybody has final expenses. When you pass away, oh, I'm going to be cremated, I'm going to be donated to science, yada, yada. There's still a bill. There's going to be a hospital bill. There's going to be a doctor bill. There's going to be a legal bill. There's going to be something. Nobody has passed away and their family has said, oh, Susan died and left us too much money. What are we going to do with all this? It just doesn't work like that.
Right.
So if you have life insurance and you say, I'm going to take out a $50,000 life insurance, I'm going to leave that to my sister. Tammy's getting rich in this meeting, by the way. I'm loading her up with all your. You're welcome, Tammy. But you say to her, Tammy, I've left you some life insurance. I want you to pay for my burial. I want you to pay for the bills. I want you to pay off my end of my lease and get rid of my car and do whatever you need to do with that money. Whatever's left over, do whatever you want with it. Then that means that you can say, my final expenses are taken care of, and all the money I've saved from my retirement, I can spend that on me. And I don't have to set some of that money aside to pay my bills for me. Because you will never put $50,000 into a $50,000 life insurance policy. That's leverage right there. That means that $50,000 you were going to set aside, you can spend that on your favorite person.
Right. Right.
All right.
Okay, thank you for that. I mean, honestly, thank you for that advice. Those are some great pearls of wisdom you gave us. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and
Mhm.
just talk about some of the things that you do for the community. Now, years ago, you introduced me to a group of very brave young women called Kaylee's
Yes.
Kindness. Would you just give us a little bit of background about this group and how Kaylee started this and why she started it?
So 9 years ago, and I'm going to choke up while I tell this story. You got a 16-year-old girl worried about the prom and her boyfriend and what the other cheerleaders were saying and where she's going to go to college and all the teenage problems that teenage girls have. And she didn't feel well. And then she didn't feel well more. And she went to her mom and they went to the doctor and they told her she was making it up. And they kept pursuing it. And then it came out that she had cancer. not just cancer, but she had like cancer. Like the word is 17 letters long. It's a very long word. I don't know. And you're not going to live. Stage 4, you're done. Well, she didn't take that sitting down, and she got treatments, went to Roswell, went to various places for treatments. And while she was there, she noticed that there was other girls there that were by themselves. And being the person that she is, she said to her mother, look, Mom, you come visit me, you sit with me, the neighbors sit with me, or my aunt sits with me. That girl over there gets dropped off. And her mother picks her up at the end of the day because her mother has to go to work. She's got nobody. So we did a benefit for her. I mean, I was part of it, but they did a benefit for her, trying to raise some money. They raised, this is the most bizarre benefit I've ever been to. They raised about 5 times more than they expected.
Oh, wow.
And with that, this 16-year-old girl decided that we're going to help the others. And it started with a girl named Erin, and they bought her a pizza. And you would have thought that they'd given her the moon. And they just shared a pizza. And that's where it started. And it grew from there. There's now 93 girls in the group. Kaylee's Kindness Foundation is, I think, 8 years old now. And I'm on the board for that. I've known Kaylee since she was about 8 or 9, so it's personal for me. But we get attached to these girls. We lost one, excuse me. We lost a girl last week after a 10-year battle. And it was quite a thing. But now here's a young lady, Jennifer is her mom, Stella Uziak. And leukemia at age 7, had it twice. And she actually passed away at 17 from the lung problems that developed from all the treatments. But despite spending probably 40% of those 10 years in the hospital, National Honor Society, Junior National Honor Society, honor roll for the last 6 years. She had more than enough credits to graduate. They gave her diploma the week before she passed, with honors. So we all struggle, and we talk about the big problems we have. And here's a girl that was on the honor roll, hooked up to tubes for the last 2 years of her life. But she, and I put on my Facebook page, you didn't need to know her long. She was the smartest and bravest and hardest working person in the room.
Right.
And that's what she did. So it's a good group to get involved with. Every donation that goes to them goes directly to a girl somehow. We get it in there. I mean, we have a fund, obviously, but it goes to help these girls, families. We have families that can't pay rent because they're devastated by this illness, or none of them are living high on the hog. None of them are going to restaurants and doing these things.
Right.
We hold spa days for the girls. We do prom dress shopping for the girls. There's 2 organizations here in Buffalo that hold proms for teenagers that are ill.
Oh.
So they've got access, wheelchair access. They've got special needs set up, things like this and attendance there just in case somebody, falters during the way, as well as maybe going to their own prom or things.
Right.
But these girls, we buy them prom dresses. We give them money each August to go school shopping. And the eye opener there is, we take them all to Target and give them gift cards. Some kids are buying clothes. Some kids are buying food.
Oh my gosh.
Right. It's brutal, but this is the kind of thing that Kaylee's Kindness does. It helps these girls. It gives them emotional support, spiritual support, financial support. We do activities. Lately, we've done more Zoom activities, but they did Zoom painting the other day. And 17 girls got on a Zoom thing. Like you go out and do the wine and painting thing. We don't give them wine, but we dropped off these painting kits to all their houses, and they got on a thing and they did Zoom with them. So,
see, that's lovely.
Yeah,
I have to say, when you introduced me to them, I actually did a group reading for them, and it was heart-wrenching because you realize you're sitting in a room with girls that are like 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe all the way up to 20,
Okay.
And they know so many people who have crossed.
Oh my, yeah.
So it was heartbreaking, but they were so strong, and they were just, they were just a lovely group of girls. Anyway, so I just want to share her website. It is just Kaylee's Kindness, and you spell Kaylee, Kaelys, kindness.org. And
Correct.
if you're interested in donating, I'm sure they could use the help.
We're hearing about more, and we're always looking for sponsors for our golf tournament and things like that. It's a great group. And these girls, they're normal teenage girls. Some of them don't have hair, or some of them are, they're sick, or they're underweight or overweight because of the drugs and whatever in the treatments. And some of them struggle in school because of it. Some of them excel. They're normal girls, and they just want to live a normal life.
Yeah.
This way they can do it with people that can connect with their own problem, because it's not easy to relate when to somebody. I mean, I'm with them and I know some things, but I can't possibly relate to the girls like they can with each other.
Right. Right.
So,
Very valid.
but we do what we can for them. Quick story: one of the girls, we were having lunch about 3 or 4 years ago. I took a group to lunch, and we were at Homegrown Bistro, and we're all eating lunch. And I'm just kind of listening. And the one young girl's 15 or 16 years old, and she's talking about, when my hair grows back this time, I hope that it's curly, and because they lose their hair 2 and 3 times. And one of the older girls said, "Well, I hope mine comes in. I hope it comes in straight because that'll match my fake ID." And so, I mean, so like I said, they're just teenage girls, but
Oh,
they have
funny.
trouble, yeah, they have trouble buying sneaking alcohol just like the other teenage
Oh,
girls.
that's funny.
That's
That's funny.
that's it. So anyhow, I'm sorry.
No, I just think it's very commendable that you're involved in that. That to me is a very, very necessary and lovely group.
They
Now,
make it easy. They really make it easy.
yeah. And I know that you're involved in another group that's in our hometown of Orchard Park, which
Mhm.
I said is a suburb outside of Buffalo, called the Academy of Finance. And I love this. So explain this to us a little bit.
Okay. So the Academy of Finance is actually one portion of the National Academy Foundation, which is a national organization that puts high school students into positions of interest so they can learn about an interest they may have and excel in it, and helps them experience it during high school. It also, so the National Academy has 5 different foundations, and I should have looked it up since we talked the other day, but I didn't. But hospitality, science, medical, finance, and I can never remember the fifth one, but I'm tied in the Academy of Finance. So each year we select 30 students out of the 8th grade class that are interested. We ask, who's interested, and a lot of the kids are in it because their parents made them get in it. But I can tell you this: we haven't had one kid graduate from our 4-year program that didn't say, "I'm glad that I was in it." So what we do with these students is we introduce them to business people, introduce them to business courses and things like this. I'm on the board. I'm a chairman on the board. Actually, I've been involved since 2005. I've been the chairman for about the last 10 years. But we provide them with financial support, with just general support. This afternoon, I had a Zoom call with 2 of my students that I'm mentoring. I just met them today, and Harry and Sam, and we talked about juniors in high school, and where are you going? What are you doing? What kind of courses are you taking? How's the academy helping you? And things along those lines. They are required to take a curriculum of finance courses and business courses. We also give them introductions to resumes. We give them introductions to accounting. We give them introductions to computers. We do personal interviews with them. We do one-on-one mock interviews, job interviews, things like that, that help them get prepared. A lot of kids go off to college and they say, take an accounting course, and they say, "I did this already as a junior." I mean, we give them the opportunity. We do co-op personally. Orchard Park Academy, by the way, is one of 19 schools in the Western New York area that have academies of finance. So we are co-opted with Bryant and Stratton College, Niagara University, Canisius, and now ECC, which is now a SUNY school. And they can take courses there at a reduced rate and get college credits before they even graduate high school. So if you take advantage of every opportunity in ours academy, you can get 19 college credits before you graduate, which is the equivalent of a semester. And your parents are very thankful because they just saved how many thousands of dollars because you got these courses before you graduate.
Absolutely. Now,
Plus,
Tim,
it gives them experience. It gives them experience, and that's the big thing. They know how to shake hands. They know how to look people in the eye and build confidence. We have confidence building courses. We have Dress for Success courses. We have guest speakers in, again, that all telling them things that they wouldn't learn otherwise.
Oh, I love that. That's so near and dear to my heart. To me, I think that's beautiful. Now, I have to ask you this. You're so involved in community, and since I've known you, you've always been so involved in community. And when I say that, I mean, like, I'll use this as an example. One of the girls that we knew from high school, her daughter was recently killed. And I know that they had like a thing in Green Lake, and I know that you went to it. You always do things. You always show up. Let's just say you always show up. So I have to ask you, is this something that was instilled with you with the way that your parents raised you? Or was this just kind of something that came from the way that you kind of evolved?
I guess I've evolved. I mean, my parents, I mean, I was one of 11, as you know. Um, and we never struggled. We never suffered. We never had any real problem there. I mean, there was never days we were hungry or didn't have clothing or anything like that. Our problems were, we didn't get all the cable channels or something like that, which is a real struggle at the time, whatever. But when you see people go through tragedy, and and you just realize that the strength that some of these people have, and you have to admire that. And oh boy, Rachel was Vicky. She was my favorite waitress at the local bar at the Birdhouse, and I was one of her last customers. Actually, she passed away about an hour and a half after she took my tab and paid it. So that was a very touching thing. But her mom went to school with us, right? She was a couple years behind us. And actually, I didn't know her mom in school, but Rachel introduced me to her at the restaurant one day. And she goes, "Oh, I know you. Remember me chatting on? She talking to you and Stacy and the rest of the gang." So I kind of knew who she was. And then when I saw her at Rachel's wake, I went to her and I said, "You probably don't remember me." She goes, "Of course I remember you." Boom. So here she is comforting me at the worst time of her life. So it's difficult.
And
You
that's
see
just
stuff like that.
that's just the type of person Lori is, though. Yeah, she and I were.
Yes.
Yeah, she
Yes.
went to grammar school with us. I'm sure yeah, you probably don't remember. You were a
Right.
few years older.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's the way it is. But again, you see these things and you just can't help but know that. I mean, I'm single now. My kids are older. I'm fortunate. I put myself in a position where, I'm comfortable and things. And I think about, here's a family struggling, and you know what, I'm gonna go and play roulette later and blow $200. I mean, what if I only went and blew $100 and gave that? You don't think about it, but something very small to you means an awful lot to somebody else.
And even,
And
I forgot to mention the toy drive that you do
yeah,
every year. How long have you done that? Explain to the audience a little bit about that. I always look forward to it around Thanksgiving.
yes. So many years ago, and I think we're at almost 20 years now.
Wow.
For some reason, we decided to gather some toys up at Christmas, so we did, and we gave it to a company called Parents Anonymous, which was just people going through divorces or battered women or men, widowers that didn't have the means to get by, and they were struggling at Christmas. So, that means that my kid gets one less gift out of 20, but some kid who's not going to get anything gets something. So we collected toys. It evolved from there. That group got swallowed by another company, another group, and we went with them. And coincidentally, the person that runs that group or ran that group at the time was Maggie, who was Kaylee's mom.
Oh,
So
wow.
I knew her through this before Kaylee ever was ill, before I ever knew Kaylee through football, because she was a cheerleader in our local group. Before I knew Kaylee existed, I was working with her mom, gathering toys for the GA. It turned into GA Family Service, Gustavus Aldovus Lutheran Family Services of Jamestown, New York. But they have a chapter in Buffalo, chapter in Franklinville. And what we do there is we collect toys here in the office. I put a note out to all my co-workers. They know it's going to happen. And I hammer them for about a month and a half every day. Hey, it's a toy drive. Let's go, people. And I put notes on Facebook and I tell my family, and people give me a lot of gifts. We collect a truckload of gifts every year. This year we raised almost $2,000 in cash as well that we give to them so they can fill in the gaps. And they had 73 families that they have to take care of. So these kids have Christmas because we collect these toys. And I tell people every year, you've just changed your kid's Christmas. How could you not want to do that, right? This year was a little more difficult for us because of the restrictions. We weren't able to see the kids open the gifts. We usually do a big Christmas dinner. We serve the dinner so the employees can mingle with the families, and we take care of the chores for them. But we get to see Santa give out the gifts. We get to see the smiles on the faces. It's really nice. So this year we didn't get to do that. It was kind of tough, but we will next year. But it still was a very successful drive.
Right.
So to answer your question, I think I don't have an exact year, but I bet you we're almost at 20. And it's great. And you participate every year. Every year I put it on Facebook, and sure enough, 2 days later, there's the Amazon box from Susan delivered to my door. But it began when you met me for coffee, what, 6 or 8 years ago? And I
Yeah.
was going do this, and you said, let me come along, and you end up buying Walmart gift cards. I remember that
Mhm.
distinctly. So
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
No problem.
But
Yeah.
Tim, I just have to say, that's what makes you so special. I mean, really, is the fact that you do get involved in so many things. And I think being like leading a purpose-driven life, you're such a good poster child for that. And I think that's lovely. In closing, is there any advice that you would give, and going back to the financial planning, just one piece of advice that you might leave our audience with?
Do it now. Do it now. Don't put it off. If you have an advisor, call them and say, hey, we need to review. If you don't have an advisor, get one. Call me.
Okay.
But call somebody. But sit down and make the plan, because most of the time when I deal with people, especially when I deal with people that bring in their parents things, their parents pass away, I say to them, this is great, but a month from now, I'm going to call you and we're going to sit down and go over your business. Because as much as you're complaining about how your parents left it in a disheveled mess, half the people will leave their stuff in a disheveled mess if it's not taken care of.
Right.
So yeah, get organized and do it.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for being here, Tim. We truly appreciate it. And I'm just going to leave you today. Thank you very much once again. You've just joined us on Midlife Conversations with Susan Schueler. And I will leave you with a thought of never forget, we are all one. Thank you until next time.